Today we are going to preview Oklahoma versus Kansas State, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today we are going to preview number 8 Oklahoma versus Kansas State. But first, I got this book coming out tomorrow, Tuesday, October 24th. If you have not pre-ordered it, it is going to be available wherever books are sold. It is called Let It Bang. It is my story about becoming an NRA pistol instructor after knowing nothing about guns and what I learned and what I believe based on that journey. I would really appreciate it if you bought it. I'm all over the radio. I'm all over NPR. I'm all over TV talking about this book. And now let's talk about Oklahoma versus Kansas State. And I'm going to start with a story. So, Hayden Fry, you might have heard of him, legendary college football coach. Not necessarily because his Iowa teams were so amazing, though they were really good, but because of the names he put into college football. Like his 1983 staff is legendary. Some of the folks on that staff included Barry Alvarez, who coached Wisconsin, Bob Stoops, who coached Oklahoma, and the one Bill Snyder, who was his offensive coordinator. And why did Hayden Fry decide to hire Bill Snyder as his offensive coordinator at one point? Well, it was because he was so tired of watching Bill Snyder's offense beat up on his teams. That's the kind of guy Bill Snyder is. That's the kind of guy Bill Snyder was. That's the kind of Kansas State team Oklahoma is going to face on Saturday. It is the kind of Kansas State team that is going to show up to your yard in your front lawn, call you out, pick up a brick, and throw it at your face. That is how Kansas State football gets down. And to be fair, that's how Kansas State football has always gotten down since Bill Snyder has been its head coach going back to 1989, which is very important this year, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But what do we make of this Kansas State football team? Well, there's a good argument for it being the worst team in the Big 12, which had been Kansas's bag for the last 5-6 years, but no longer because Kansas's defense actually looks pretty decent, though they did get skull dragged by Texas Tech last Saturday. No, what's going on with Kansas State is weird. It's weird because it seems that the only thing that set Kansas State apart from the rest of college football is no longer true, which is that Bill Snyder was the best coach in any stadium he was inside of. But now with this team, don't really know what's going on because he pulled a guy in Skylar Thompson that everybody believed was a better quarterback than Alex Delton without telling the rest of his staff, and because Skylar Thompson wasn't doing what Bill Snyder told him to do. What's really weird is that he pulled him in a blowout game versus West Virginia, which West Virginia won 35-6. And that was really the big clue as to this Kansas State team might actually be pretty bad. And then Texas went up to Manhattan and pulled off something they haven't been able to pull off in 16 years. When? Beat Kansas State 19-14 in a game that everybody agrees was really, really bad to watch. However, Skylar Thompson came out of that game as the starter. Has to be. Alex Delton, that dude's got a water pistol for an arm. We saw it last year. Still nearly beat Oklahoma because of their ability to run the football. And that's their real skill, which I'll get to in a second. But it ain't like Skylar Thompson is Kyler Murray light. Hell, he ain't even Charlie Brewer light. He ain't even Sam G. Ellinger right. This dude is so very Kansas State quarterback. He has as many completions as he does carries. 73. He is the second leading rusher on Kansas State's football team behind Alex Barnes. Alex Barnes is low-key the best running back in the Big 12 this year because he's getting all the carries and because he's the dude that Bill Snyder gave that brick to beat Oklahoma State over the head with. Barnes had 34 carries for 184 yards in a skull-dragging of Oklahoma State. That dude is from Pittsburgh, Kansas. And if you've never been to Pittsburgh, Kansas, it ain't the place you kind of want to go. You saw Last Chance U, you saw Independence, Kansas. Basically the same thing, except they got gorillas in Pittsburgh, Kansas, and all they do is play football and competitive cheerlead. I was up there on a visit one time, and You know what I found in Pittsburgh, Kansas? I was in Pittsburgh, Kansas. The mall at Pittsburgh, Kansas had an Applebee's that was closed, like closed down. Not closed for the day, was out of business. That's how they're getting down in Pittsburgh, Kansas. So if you come up playing high school football there, yeah, you probably harder than most because there ain't nothing else to do but beat on each other. And that is the guy playing running back at the ultimate. We use our offense to beat up on defense's school. Alex Barnes is also a guy who has 138 carries for 788 yards. That's 5.7 yards per clip. But it's really interesting because 7 games in, he's already nearly eclipsed his season-long totals for 2017, where he had 146 carries for 819 yards. This is their offense. He is a battering ram. That is what is going to hit Oklahoma's defense on Saturday. Adding to this idea that all Kansas State wants to do is take a 2x4 to your head repeatedly is that Isaiah Zuber is its number 1 wide receiver. And Isaiah Zuber is a good wide receiver. He has 39 catches for 478 yards. That's also twice as many as the next best wide receiver on the entire team. And defensively, they're actually pretty good. They're second in the Big 12 in turnover margin, and they are first in the league in interceptions with 7. Their passing defense is underrated, and I expect Hollywood Brown, CeeDee Lamb to have their hands full with these defensive backs, in particular Duke Shelley. Shelley is a Buki-sized defensive back, 5'9", 180 pounds, who has 3 interceptions and the second most passes defended with 12 in the league. That's the dude that's going to be running around trying to break up Kyler Murray's love connection to Hollywood Brown. And while, yes, their glaring weakness is firepower, again, they don't really want to score a bunch of points. They want to hit you in the face with this brick and run out the clock. So the offense ain't going to have a whole lot of opportunities to score. But when it does have opportunities to score, it has to get 6. Because the kind of game that Bill Snyder and Kansas State wants to play is the one that they got against Texas, that Texas happened to win 19-14. That's where they live and breathe. Eat up the clock, play sound defense, beat on you with this brick until there's nothing left of you. And I'm particularly scared of this Kansas State team, and not for rational reasons. They're all irrational reasons. The first one is Bill Snyder might actually losing his edge as a coach. And I don't know what non-necromancer Bill Snyder looks like, and I'm not really keen to find out because all of a sudden he might be calling some air raid stuff. I don't know. But really, it's that they are fighting to stay out of history. Kansas State has won 5 games or more going back to 2004. And in that year, they went 4-7. Before that, they had only not won 5 games in the season one other time, and it was Bill Snyder's first year at Kansas State, 1989, when they went 1-10. I have a sneaking suspicion that if Bill Snyder can't get to 5 wins this year, that contract extension or no contract extension, folks might decide they have had enough of Bill Snyder trying to wait out until his son Sean can take over a program that's back to the heights that Bill Snyder got the Wildcats to. He tried to leave the one time. Ron Prince came in here and put the program back into the gutter. And then Bill Snyder had to come back and resurrect it. And now that he has this contract extension, it doesn't feel like he's going anywhere. But let them go through the rest of the season just winning 3 games. And it'll be hard to hold on to Bill Snyder, even at Kansas State. Where, man, really in the state of Kansas, there are like 3 popular people. Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was president, and, Merlin, who has taken his merry band of rejects every single year and beat up on teams with fundamentals, special teams, and coaching savvy. And in college football, those things can still win football games against teams that are way more talented than you. So if you're looking for a trap game in Big 12 play, this is it. Especially since now there's tape of Ruffin McNeill's defense against TCU. I expect Bill Snyder and his coaching staff are studying that and trying to figure out how they can take it apart. And because everybody's going to be looking for this defense to come down from that high that they were on against TCU, holding TCU to 275 yards of offense and just 20 points. They can do this against Kansas State, but it means tackling. It means tackling Alex Barnes to the ground. That's not something that we have been able to see as a guarantee with the OU defense. Kenneth Murray Jr., Curtis Bolton, pack a lunch, you're gonna need it. As for the offense, again, I reiterate, you're only gonna have so many opportunities against this team. It's gonna be a lot like it was against Army, where you're just not on the field. And when you have to be on the field, you gotta go and get 6, preferably faster the better. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.